Hey, everybody, welcome to If You Don't Like That. What's going on, boy? What a week for the NBA. What a week for the NBA. Let's get right to it. I'm going to make a prediction here on July 2nd of 2025. And I'm going to say that on July 2nd of 2027, Mike Brown will not be the head coach of the New York Knicks. I think this is going to be a disaster. And I think that, and this, by the way, I am not anti Mike Brown. I've never met Mike. This is not anything about Mike Brown. All right. I think that Mike Brown will last less than 2 seasons in New York. Less than 2 seasons. What do you want to talk about today? DeAndre Ayton to the Lakers. I think that's a good move for them. He should stay motivated, and that's unfortunate that you have to talk about that. But he's still a good player, and I think the Lakers make a very wise signing there. All right? It's a good job. They just got better. They got better. All right. A lot of people asking me about Kuminga. A lot of people asking me about Malik Monk. It doesn't make sense to me to move Malik Monk. I like Malik. Obviously, things got a little bit more complicated with Dennis Schroeder, but assuming you can't move Zach LaVine, there are only so many guards you can have on a team. But I wouldn't move Malik Monk. I would not do that. I'll say this: Mike Brown and the Knicks will have 10 plus more wins than the Kings. Who cares? What a stupid ass comment that is. Who cares? They should. They got a much better team. Come on now. Happy Wednesday night to you. As far as Kuminga, I don't know what's going to go on there with if he's going to be on the move or not. That's interesting. I still think the Kings are going to make one or two more moves here, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's something that makes you raise your eyebrows. All right? Ayton fits perfectly with the Lakers, ? I think that Ayton makes them better, yes. Perfectly, no. I don't think Ayton fits perfectly anywhere because he doesn't come to play every night. And I'm always concerned about a player that doesn't come to play every night. So am I surprised the Knicks hired Mike Brown? I remember you said you didn't think he'd be a coach again. I'm very surprised. And the Knicks are an example of how not to run an organization. Like, the Knicks would not have fired Tom Thibodeau if they felt that Mike Brown was going to be their next head coach. I'm just telling you that right now. Okay? There's no way that Mike Brown was on the Knicks' radar when Tom Thibodeau was fired. It's just, they didn't even think of Mike Brown. We know what they wanted. They went after 3 coaches with 3 teams, and they were denied permission on all 3. There you have it. In a nutshell. They really wanted Jason Kidd. Dallas said no. And then they were left, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? I mean, think about it. And I love Micah Nori. I know him personally. I would have hired Micah Nori if I would have hired Micah Nori over Mike Brown in a New York second. But they wanted a coach that has been there and whatever. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. They should have never fired Tom Thibodeau. They shouldn't have. Do I think that Monk has been treated unfairly by the Kings? Signed for less than he deserved, hometown discount. Fox leaves, and now they're trying to move him. Seems like there's going to be a lack of trust. Well, first of all, no. When you say he signed for less than he deserved, that was his choice. I don't think he's bothered by Fox leaving. And now you say they're trying to move him. How do you know they're trying to move him? Based on a newspaper article? How do you know they're trying to move him? The Knicks firing Tibbs is the worst firing in recent sports history, in my opinion. I mean, this is just so bad. I agree with you. Do I think the Knicks will be worse, says Noah? Yes, they will be worse. Absolutely. They will be worse. They will not make it to the East. I don't know if they'll make it out of the first round. They got to make the playoffs first. I don't think this is going to work in New York. I do like him getting Jordan Clarkson. I think that's a good move. I think that's a very good move. All right, if you want to call the show, I would love to have you. All right, you got the QR code above my shoulder. Got the link. Give me a call and we can talk about whatever you want here on an open forum. Another show tomorrow. We take off Friday for the 4th. Hope you're on your way to a great holiday weekend. If you want to talk about anything else in the world of sports, if you want to take a step outside of the sports arena, it is an open forum, and we can do that. Whatever direction you want to go in. I did a rant on this morning. All right. Are the Kings better right now than they were on June 30th? And I'm not so sure about that. I don't know about the two rookies, and Reno, the 42nd pick, and Clifford, the 24th pick. I mean, we won't know about them until the fall. You get a little bit of a peak in summer league, but that's not a true barometer all the time. You lose Jake LaRavia, and you lose Jonas Valanciunas, and you add Dennis Schroeder. Does that make you better? And what does that mean for Devin Carter? What does that mean for Keon Ellis? What does that mean for Malik Monk? I mean, we can ask all those questions, right? Schrader doesn't move the needle for me. Still a 40-win team. I like Dennis Schroeder. I don't love Dennis Schroeder. Okay? I mean, he is a point guard. He is the best point guard on the Kings roster now. But Schroeder, to me, doesn't move the needle either. That's it. Patrick makes a great point. The Knicks process after Tibbs was fired is more disappointing than the hiring of Brown. They should have had the new coach immediately. Exactly. 100%. 100%. All right. I've heard the rumors that the Kings might send Keegan for Kuminga. I don't know if that's, I don't like talking about rumors because most of the time they don't happen. All right. I'm not in the rumors. Most of these rumors do not happen. And so I'm not going there just yet. I wouldn't do that personally. But we know one thing, the Kings are trying to shake up the roster. That we do know. So when you have a new front office, right? Nothing would surprise me. Okay? Nothing would surprise me. I still think the Kings are right now not relevant in the West. And I'm not so sure they will be with their roster and the limitations that they have. I mean, we keep talking about limitations. There are limitations that you're dealing with. I could see this season being a long one. I could see it being a long one. Do I like Westbrook on the Kings? No, I don't like Westbrook on the Kings. It would make no sense to me. How would I feel if Devin Carter was traded to the Warriors? I don't know. It depends what you get back in return. I don't know. This is a great one. Kings can do whatever they want with the roster, just hoping for a top 3 pick next season. The draft is loaded next year. I would agree with you there. DeRozan will be gone by the trade deadline. I would hope he's going to be gone way before that. Showed up late. That's a big Mike Brown prediction. Well, I always make my predictions before they happen. I don't make my predictions after they happen. I made my prediction last summer, if you remember, right around this time when I said that the Kings would be making a big mistake if they gave Mike Brown a new contract. I said there was no need for it. It was stupid, and they shouldn't do it. I didn't say that after they fired him. I said that 6 months before they fired him. Mike Brown isn't a bad coach, to be honest. I have my mouth open because did I say he was bad? Have I ever said Mike Brown is a bad coach? Have I ever said that? I'm not insinuating you said I said that, but I have never said that Mike Brown is a bad coach. I just think he has limitations, and I don't think he's a good fit in New York. What's my take on Ben Simmons? I wouldn't take Ben Simmons under any circumstance. None. 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 Not at all. Why do you want Ben Simmons? Seriously, what's he going to do for you? No. What's my thought on George Karl as coach of the Kings? His coaching tenure was sabotaged before he ever walked into the building by DeMarcus Cousins and his representatives. It was an absolute disgrace. George had no chance of coaching the Kings. It was awful. Or what were your thoughts is the better question. My thoughts are that Mike Brown will not last 2 years in New York. I don't think it will work because I don't think Mike is that good of a coach. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I don't think he's Tom Thibodeau, and I don't think that he'll handle the New York media. Mike's very, very, very good in front of a microphone, and he's got a tremendous personality. I don't have anything against Mike Brown. I just don't think it's going to work. Do I think the media painted George Karl in an unfair way? Well, I don't know what you mean by that. The Sacramento media or the national media? I mean, George had a hell of a career as a coach, but he had no chance. The Kings should have never hired George Karl. That was a bad move. They should have never hired him. And you know what the shame is? I honestly think DeMarcus Cousins played the best basketball of his career under George Karl. That's what's crazy about it. Does it surprise me the Knicks had no interest in Michael Malone? Yes, it does. Surprises me a lot. I don't know if that's from when Brendan Malone was there and he had a riff with James Dolan. Who knows? That surprised me big time. I was very surprised by that. Does adding KD to Houston make them a contender? Only if he's healthy when the playoffs begin and for the entire playoffs. That's it. That's it. Can you tell us about the trade saga with Billy Owens and Mitch Richmond back in the day? Yeah, Jerry Reynolds made that trade, and the Bay Area went ballistic in a positive way over the deal, and Jerry got the last laugh on that one. In my career, is DeMarcus the most talented King that you have seen all time? Just pure talent? Yes. No, is the Dennis Schroeder deal complete yet? No deals can be done until the moratorium is over. As far as the Kuminga hype, I don't really pay much attention to it. Would have I been happy if the Kings went after Damian Lillard instead of Dennis? No, because Lillard's coming off the Achilles, and that would make me nervous at his age. Again, a lot of people asking me about Kaminga. I don't know anything about that. I don't really pay attention to rumors of that magnitude because they very rarely happen. Just like what did I tell you on June 30th when I was doing this show? What did I tell you about Dennis Schroeder in a sign and trade for Malik Monk? What did I tell you? I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. I said, I'm not going to really discuss it because it doesn't make sense to me. I just I don't pay attention to rumors on the internet. I don't, unless they come from a very reputable source. I don't pay attention to it. I just don't. I look at who is the individual that's reporting it. That's the first thing I do. And then I'm like, nah, you know? So I just don't put a lot of stock and faith in the rumor mill. I just don't. So, I keep on hearing there's still a chance that the Kings could do a certain sign and trade. That is possible. The deal you have until you sign him, that is very possible. But that still doesn't make sense to me. Like I would not trade Malik Monk to the Detroit Pistons for Dennis Schroeder so that my mid-level exception is all good and like I don't think you get better, okay? I don't think you get better by getting Dennis Schroeder and losing Malik Monk. All right. So I just, it's just like the Kaminga talk. Why would you trade Keegan Murray for Jonathan Kaminga? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? It just, none of that makes sense to me. All right. Nothing. Now, I could see getting Kaminga. I would love to have him, but I'm not trading Keegan Murray for him. All right. I just, you get Kaminga, you got to have cap space. You got to be able to work it out. But I'm not doing Keegan Murray. All right. And again, if you're going to send Malik Monk to Detroit to complete the Dennis Schroeder deal before he signs, I don't like that either. I've said that. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. All right, let's get to some phone calls here. Jay, it's been a while. How are you?
It has been a while, but I told you that you guys will see me over the summer, and I'm going to
Good.
be a man of my word, unlike Vivek Randive. No, I'm just kidding. Let's not slander them. How you doing, Grant?
I'm good, buddy. What's going on?
I'm pretty good. I mean, I've been, not really as involved with watching too much of the Kings news this offseason. There's not much you can really do besides, move the guys that we acquired last season, which would be a Levine or a Sabonis potentially, a DeRozan type of thing. But I would agree 100% with what you have to say about getting rid of Monk for Dennis Schroeder. I
Yep.
think in today's NBA, Monk's contract, he took a pay cut. Believe it or not, he did. And it's, I mean, you see what the cap went up this year. It's going to continue to go up. He has too much value from a contract point of view. So you don't get a guy, or you don't get rid of a guy like that to get Dennis Schroeder. And I love Dennis Schroeder. I'm excited to see what he brings off the bench. I think he reminds me of Keon Ellis a little bit, of what Keon Ellis could become if he can really build a consistent offensive game. But yeah, you don't trade Monk for Dennis Schroeder. Um, I think they did a responsible thing by, if you had to pick between Valanciunas and Monk to get the deal done, which we were in need of a point guard. Truthfully, Monk does better as a second option as a point guard. Devin Carter's not ready for that role, and Keon Ellis I don't think is ready for that role either. Schroeder, he's a off the bench 6 man kind of point guard, but he we've seen him, play FIBA World Basketball, and lead teams and things like that. So I think he'll be a solid fit on this team. Where he fits in, not sure yet if it's going to be off the bench or if he's going to start. I think that'd be between Monk and him, kind of competing for that spot. Um, and then you mentioned the Kaminga thing with getting rid of Keegan Murray. Now That you're right. That
Not
doesn't
going to
make
happen.
sense.
That's not going
Yeah,
to happen.
I think what would make a lot more sense is DeRozan for Kuminga. I don't know if they're going to want an aging veteran,
No, they
but I mean,
wouldn't.
if you're right, I would even look into if they want to grab Zach Levine for Kuminga. I'd rather get a slightly cheaper, upside, younger guy like Kuminga instead of Levine on this squad, and he's a better defensive player. So I mean, there's plenty of options that I
Yeah,
would
one
even
of the
throw in
options that
Monk.
Dennis Schroeder's your starting point guard. They're not. He's not coming here to be a backup.
I mean,
No,
should we
I'm
have
telling you,
waited?
he's starting. He's your starting point guard.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying this whole thing's with the Milwaukee Bucks and Damian Lillard. I know he's out, but I mean, should we have waited to, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
Like,
not. That's not. Damian Lillard's not. No, that's not happening. And if you're Damian Lillard, why would you want to come to Sacramento?
I don't know. I mean, DeMar might be enticing. Sabonis, Levine, you get to play with these guys. It's not like we're a bunch of scrubs. You know, there's some all stars on this team. What do you
Again, if
think?
you are Damian Lillard, you're not looking at Sacramento.
I mean, where would you look?
Well, I sure as hell want to look at Sacramento. There are many other options. First of all, I don't know if Damian Lillard can play right now. I don't know what his health.
Nah, he can't.
I,
He's out.
so
He's out.
let's move on. That's not going to happen. Let's talk about stuff that's realistic.
All right, all right. But yeah, the Kaminga thing. I've been hearing rumors. How do you know how true those are? Because I haven't really investigated how what you're hearing.
I don't hear anything that makes me think that it's imminent based on the sources. I just I don't really pay attention to rumors because my experience in dealing with this is 99% of them don't come true.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So,
You
like,
know,
I mean, it's good fodder. It's good to have fun and talk about it here, and it kills time and it enables me to do a show and have people like you call up and ask me questions, which I love. But I just find that a lot of these things don't have a lot of validity to them.
oh,
That
of
they're
course,
made up by
yeah,
somebody on the internet.
yeah. You know, it's tough. What do you think about the draft picks that we acquired?
Well, again, I've talked about this. Nick Clifford was a very good player at Colorado State. He began his career in Colorado. I don't know much about him. I didn't watch Colorado State play a lot. He got better every year, but he went 24th in a draft that most observers said was not very strong. And then Reno was the ninth center taken in the draft, the ninth. That doesn't mean that he won't be able to play in the NBA, but if he's as talented as everyone says, why did he last all the way at 42 and was the ninth center taken off the board? That's the only question. Again, that doesn't mean that he can't play in the NBA.
Yeah,
And it doesn't mean that all the teams that had a chance to draft him didn't make a mistake. But I'm just saying,
yeah,
why is
yeah.
that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that you'd be surprised how many people can't draft well, and the Kings were one of them. So I guess we'll see with Scott Perry making that decision if it pans out pretty well. I heard Jerry Reynolds said he could be like a Quentin Post kind of guy, hopefully, which would be great. We could use a big guy who could stretch the floor for
Yes.
sure. So
Yeah. All right,
yeah,
buddy. Good hearing
all
from you.
right, nice hearing from you.
Take care now. Bye bye. All right, let's move along. Let's get to PK. Hello, PK. What's going on today?
Hey, what's up, big dog? How you
What's shaking?
doing?
Good.
Man, man, Grant, can you out of your experience make sense of what Kings could possibly be doing right now? Like what kind of direction they're going with all these moves?
Yeah, they're trying to just change their roster because they know that the roster they had last year is not going to make it.
but it's like but it also almost feels like it's like when we had Fox and the roster was fine, instead of adding to the roster, they just like they got rid of JV for what, save $5 million to give to
Yeah,
Schroeder,
I don't like that at all. That doesn't make any
right?
sense to me.
Like even whatever they do in the off season, the bench is going to be still the issue, right? Because we're still going to have we're not going to have solid eight guys.
Well, again, you're depending on two rookies that you don't know much about whether they can play in the NBA to contribute off the bench as part of that. And we don't know about Clifford and Reno yet because it's too early.
Yeah, but you had freaking Laravia. You could have freaking kept him at least. I mean, they
I
haven't
know
done.
the
I
Lakers
mean,
wanted
they
him and they signed him. So, yeah, I hear you.
yeah, but what's the outlook? It's like it seems like all these teams in the West are like building up and they're getting better. we look stupid. We look stupid. Also, our salary cap is ridiculous. Like, how can a team have a salary cap this high and be a trash team? And then now Sabonis doesn't have a backup again.
Well,
What do we do?
yeah, things can change with trades and everything. But you're right. I listen. Here's the bottom line, PK. On the 2nd of July, right now, to me, there's very little hope. Like I don't have a lot of hope with this team for next year. But I would also have to say it is only July 2nd, and we have to wait and see what the roster is going to look like.
I think they're going to be just a big pile of shit. But
Well,
thanks, Grant.
other than the Jazz, I'm not
I
comfortable
mean,
saying that the Kings are better than any other team in the West right now.
they're not even like touching 10. Maybe they're like 11 right now. For the moves that they've done so far, I think they're like ranked right now like 11 spot.
Maybe. But again, PK, the season doesn't start tomorrow. It starts in October. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, and like well, they don't have a really good history of making any decent decisions on any of this stuff. And dude, my gut is saying that Vivek is going to sell this team like
No.
eventually. I just feel it because it wouldn't make doesn't even make sense. They Coach Brown is coaching Knicks.
Why does he want to
and
sell
we
the team? Why would he
and
want
we
to
have
sell the team? Why would he want to sell the team?
well because of the cap, the taxes and stuff like
He
that,
doesn't,
and
he's
because
making a fortune.
and
He
because
doesn't give a damn about the cap and the taxes.
no
The
because
valuation of his team goes up every year, even though he only owns a small
I
percent.
think he would sell now because right now it's
No,
high based
no, you don't
on these
understand.
teams
No, no,
being
no, no, no,
over like
no, no. You know what?
overpriced.
Stop. I want you to change your train of thought. Okay. I know the man. He gets off on being around famous people. He's a jock sniffer. If he sells the team, all of that goes away.
But Jeannie Buss might have done something over here to the whole market. She
Not happening.
by her selling liquors for $10 billion, it might be enticing to sell high.
Not happening, at least for the immediate future.
All right, big dog. Have a great
PK,
day. And
see you, buddy.
yeah, let's get someone else on the phone.
Take care. All right. We move along. What is happening, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, Grant. How you doing today, my man?
It's been a while. You been good?
Yeah, I've been great. I've been
Good.
amazing, man. Just been a plumber, been busy, hecka
Good.
busy. I've been watching your shows in the past. I said, oh, got him today.
I love
Grant,
it.
you know me. I'm gonna come with you with logic, right? So
Yep.
as a GM, the first thing I'm gonna do is make it my way, get rid of everything that was before me, right? Whatever Monty McNair had, whatever that was, it's gone. Do you like the aggressiveness? I'm gonna ask you like three questions. Do you like the aggressiveness, and how do you feel about the aggressiveness compared to last season?
Well, I still think the aggressiveness is still in the infancy, and I still think there are a lot of moves to be made. But I'm with you. I have a saying: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the Kings were broken, and it needs to be fixed. You're a plumber, right?
Yes, sir.
If you don't fix it, you're going to have the same problem. That's why you have a job. Well, correct, right? I mean,
Yes,
if
sir.
you're not going to like wish, you're not going to go to sleep and go, God, I hope in the morning my plumbing issue is all taken care of. No, you're still going to have the issue if you don't do something about it. So it's the same thing with the Kings. You got to fix it.
Yes, sir. Now, second thing is, you said something earlier, beginning of the year when we got him, this GM. You said you think he's here for the long haul, or is he here to collect the paycheck and just fiddle off into the sunset, right? Which I do agree, right? So, with that being said, Grant, I'm asking you. He just has to sell the team. That's the ultimate fix for the fans, correct? Not
Yes,
saying he will sell it
that would
now.
yes, that would be a huge positive move for Kings fans if that were to happen. But I don't see Vivek Ranadive selling the team.
Ego, pride, how he feels having that attention, being
Yeah.
the
Yep.
man and the owner in those private rooms he can only get into
Yep.
because he's an owner, which I
Yep.
agree with.
Yep.
So what do we do then, Grant? Like, because we can't move Monk. We're not getting that many suitors. He's not as good as everybody thinks he is. That's in Sacramento. We got Zach Levine. we got DeMar DeRozan, which I feel like both those players are disgruntled because we're not hearing nothing from them. We're not getting no advertisement from King's social media about those two players at all. We're getting more of DeMontis Sabonis. He's getting pushed out there like this is becoming Sabonis's team. That's what I think Scott Perry is telling him. So I asked you, Grant, if you were a GM, which I know you're probably the most you've seen 1,000 GMs, you've seen how these teams was ran. I heard about you talking about how Chris Webber wasn't the leader last night, which I do agree on. It was Vladi. Chris Webber's can be the greatest athlete, but he wasn't the best in the mind. If you were starting a team, how would you build it? Would you build it off of mentality or skill?
That's a great question. Skill wins in the NBA, but it's like a jigsaw puzzle. The pieces have to fit. And last year, the Kings had a lot of talent. I think we could agree their roster was pretty talented, but the pieces didn't fit. And, Scott Perry has acknowledged that, and he's trying to make moves. I don't necessarily agree with you that you can't move Monk, that there's no interest. I don't agree with that. I think teams would take Malik Monk, and I think there would be interest. But I like what he did for Sacramento over, his time there. I think there's been a lot more positives than negatives. And I like what the guy does. I personally think Malik Monk's best role is as a sixth man. I don't like him starting. I like him coming off the bench. And I think he can be very good for a team coming off the bench. And I like that. So, again, it's still early in free agency. It's only been, 2 days now. There's still a lot that can happen. And there are trades that can happen. What is today? Wednesday? If you were to call me on Monday and nothing else has been done, I'd be very, very surprised. I'd be very surprised.
Really? All right. Now I have my best friend. He's a Clippers fan, right? And
Yeah.
he goes into exactly what you just said because he says that Ty Lue wasn't playing these role players, right? But
Mhm.
if he's getting what the GM is giving him, which we know he can't cook with, right?
Right.
So it was who fault was it last year? Since they're both gone, who do you put more of the blame on, Mike Brown or Monty McNair?
That's a fabulous question. I put more of the blame on Vivek Ranadive.
Mm,
That's where I put the blame because he handcuffed Monty McNair the same way he handcuffed Vlade Divac. And it becomes very difficult to do your job when you have an owner like that. So
mm,
I start with Vivek. Uh, but if you're going to go by that, I would go more on McNair because he didn't give Mike Brown a legitimate point guard and he didn't give him a good bench. So, like, as a coach, you only have, like, I don't know, I'm not an expert in plumbing, but if you don't have the right equipment to do your job, you're going to be limited to how good of a job you can do, correct?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are absolutely right. Now, to segue to my last question, then, because that makes perfect sense. Do you feel like this draft we drafted more on skill or mentality? Because I feel like these guys are not. Look at me, guys. Only thing I don't like about our first round draft pick, he went to his rival, right? Because that gave me like flashback, like he could leave us to go to the Lakers, but that's just the fandom in me,
Yeah.
right? Because he played for Colorado, went to
Yeah. But
Colorado State,
yeah.
which logistics it does make sense, right? So how do you feel like we drafted? We drafted more mentality or skill set? Because what you said, I didn't know we had the ninth best center in the draft. That kind of blew my mind,
Well, he was the
right?
ninth center taken in the draft. He was taken 42nd, and there were 8 other centers that were drafted ahead of him.
Okay. So, what do you think our mindset is? Do you think that we're drafting more for mentality for Sabonis, or we're drafting for skill set to have pieces in the future?
I think it was more of a skill set, but I also think that the mentality factors into it. I don't think you can just say one over the other 100%. I think they both are important. By all accounts and everything I've read, both of these individuals are highly regarded as people, not just basketball players, but as good people and professionals and all of that. Meaning that
Absolutely.
they'll be good with on a team element, which I like. And then they are, the one thing I would say about Nick Clifford uh, and Maxime Renault is they are skilled. I mean, they both have skills. Now, whether or not that's going to be able to translate into the NBA to the level that Scott Perry is hopeful for, I would say it's highly unlikely that it would happen in the first year. Uh, I think when you take a look at players in the NBA, Like, let's look at recent history with the Kings. Look at Davion Mitchell. It took
Mm,
Davion Mitchell 3 years to really come into his own. Now look at
mm,
him, right? Well, look at your head coach of your Kings. I mean, look at Doug Christie. Doug didn't become really good in the NBA until 4 or 5 years into his career.
mm.
I mean, look at other players on the Kings. I mean, most rookies, particularly down in the draft, don't step onto an NBA floor and all of a sudden change things in their first year. It takes a while.
Friday is coming to like 8. Now, I'm sorry. Now, last thing is here too, because I want to get you on the with this one. DeAndre Ayton, I would have loved to have him here at Sacramento, but I thought about the mentality. I didn't want
Yep.
that. I don't care if it's icy roads outside. That showed a lot of character. Me and my best friend laughed at that. Like he woke up on the toilet and was
Right.
like, "Oh,
Right.
I'm not playing today." Right?
Right.
How do you feel about him going to LA? Like if you were him, he did that as to build his brand, right? More than to be a good player, right? How
If
do you
there's
feel
a
about
team
that?
in the if there's a team in the league that will keep him in line and have him play every night, I think it's the Lakers with that roster and the makeup and their coach. So I actually think it's a very good move for the Lakers.
Okay, and last thing,
Yep.
Mike Brown.
Yep.
He's the most overrated coach in the NBA. Yes or no?
I
Yes
agree.
or no? Okay.
Yes.
Just want
Yes.
to make sure you
Yes.
had Kobe, you had
Yes.
LeBron, you had all. You sat on the bench. They brought you in the league talking about the
Yes.
Spurs. Oh my God, you got the
Yes.
Spurs. He's a
Well,
Spurs
here's the
defensive
deal.
minded.
I've talked to a lot of different players that have played on various Mike Brown teams, and all of them have told me the same thing. Great guy, love him, but very limited as a coach.
Hell yeah, because he wrote on all these backs
Right.
of what he did, right?
Right.
He's
Yeah.
one of them. I guess I get to say it. He's one of them chosen ones, if you know what I mean, Grant. But I let me say that, though. I don't want you to go there. Let me say
Hey,
that, Grant, because ain't
you know,
no
and
way.
I appreciate that. Thank you very
I'm
much.
your
I'll
boy,
let you
Grant.
say
I'm your Grant. I'm your
that.
boy, Grant. Fuck them other dudes.
I
I'm
love
your
you.
boy. All
You're
right,
the best.
I'm gonna get out of here, Grant. Have a
Hey,
good one, man.
hey, listen, don't be a stranger. Try to call a little more often because I love talking to you.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure I call him within a week of one. All right.
All right, you
Appreciate you,
take
Grant.
care. Hey, happy 4th.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, take care. That is absolutely beautiful. Oh, plumbing. Speaking of plumbing, I'm going to talk to you about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you, and they're available around the clock 24/7. They're awesome. Want to thank those of you that have contacted me saying you've used New Works and you've been very happy with them. They love to hear that. I love to hear that. NewWorksPlumbing.com, NEWWRXPlumbing.com, New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. What a great call that was. Ah, you're the best. All right, let's get to Dirk. Hello, Dirk. How are you?
Doing well, Grant. How about yourself?
I'm good, buddy.
I'm a bit baffled by why everyone seemingly is so confused, or there's so many Kings fans confused about what's happening. I think it's pretty simple, right? If you look at Scott Perry's history, it's a guy that wants to create his vision for the teams that he's a part of, just like he turned New York's roster around quickly. Why is he trying to trade Malik Monk? Because the contracts that we have for DeRozan, Levine, and Sabonis are bad contracts that other teams don't want to get on board for. So he doesn't really have a choice. If he wants to start turning this roster around, he has to look at what he has that's valuable to other teams and try to create this vision, right? People keep asking, like, well, what are we doing? We're trying to create what Scott Perry established that he wants out of these players, right? Defensive, hard-nosed guys that put in work ethic and, have the right attitude. It's just that simple. Now, Malik Monk doesn't fit that description. I'm not saying he's not valuable. And maybe Dennis Schroeder is he's there to get that point guard that Vivek needs to be convinced that Zach LaVine is just not a worthwhile player. If he can't perform with a point guard, without it's still all these unnecessary turnovers and piss poor defense, well, then Vivek has to admit the mistake. You didn't have a better option. You've got this guy that is not a winner. I mean, does it seem confusing to you at all, Grant, about what's going on?
Well, I think that to a degree, based on some of the contracts you're talking about, that Scott Perry is working with handcuffs on to a degree, and he's trying to do what he can do to change the roster. I mean, the one thing we can agree is Zach LaVine is very talented. But you're right. I can't disagree with the things you said. But when you look at his talent, I mean, he is very talented. Would he be a lot better with a real point guard next to him like Dennis Schroeder? Maybe. You would hope so. Defensively, I'm a little concerned. We know DeRozan's not a good defensive player. We know that they have a defensive-minded coach, but last year there were too many times when Doug Christie would come on the podium and say there's no excuse for that. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. There were too many games where Doug came on after the game and said that was unacceptable tonight and the fans deserve better. Well, I'm tired of hearing that.
Yeah, there's a lack of accountability. Like you can,
Yes.
I think that's difficult for Doug, maybe with this roster of guys who have a better pedigree to him than some extent. For a guy as a first-year interim coach, to really establish some degree of accountability might be challenging. But this year, let's say we get stuck with DeRozan. Like, so what if he doesn't want to come off the bench? Don't sign the contract. Hey, you're free to. We can cut you loose next year for $10 million. But if it's in the best interest of the team to establish and develop these young guys, that's what we got to do.
Well, they have done that to a degree. I mean, they developed Keon Ellis, and he was somebody that was in the G League and was undrafted. So I mean, they've done a decent job of developing players, and they're going to have to do the same with their 2 draft picks in Nick Clifford and Renault. They're going to have to do the same thing. Those guys are going to have to develop.
Do you feel like you've seen enough of Keegan Murray to really understand his value based on how he's operated on this franchise? I know you're high on him, and as am I.
I like Keegan Murray. I still think he has not yet reached his upside. And we also talk about defense, right? One thing he does defend every night. And I do like that about his game.
Yeah, and he's a team first guy. Like he was asked to make himself the best defender, right?
Yeah.
He has to guard everybody on his team. I was looking at some graphic the other day, and he is considered just right under a ball stopper, like a guy who locks down a lockdown defender. So the guy I've always thought maybe has a somewhat comparable ceiling is actually Aaron Gordon. They actually are very similar size wise. They don't play exactly the same. But
you got a real bad. I don't know if you keep hitting your microphone that you're on or whatever, but yeah.
It's the internet, Grant. My bad.
Oh, okay.
So
but I understand, and I understand the points you're trying to make. I think the word is frustration. I think Kings fans are just frustrated.
They should be thinking we're prove to Vivek this team doesn't have the potential, but also slow, like turn it over. Meaning turn over this roster rebuild, because that's what's going to have to happen. If we're ever going to be a long-standing competitive team, you need competency and somebody with enough swagger, I guess, to convince Vivek and make sure he's not listening to too many voices. So
thank you, Dirk. Take care.
Yep. Thanks, Grant.
Appreciate it. A lot of good calls today. I love that. One right after another. Really good. So awesome to have you all here. Don't forget, I'm going to be doing a show tomorrow again at 8:00, and we will wrap up the week of free agency. And listen, if something big were to happen on the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, make sure you have subscribed to the channel, because you'll know when we're doing shows. We'll add a show. I mean, that's what we do, right? We're going to talk about the news, and we're going to make sure that you have an opportunity to discuss the latest trades or signings, whether it's with Rhino or me or both of us. So keep that in mind. All right. Also, keep in mind, if you are in the market to buy a home, all right, Connor, Element Mortgage, experienced. The team behind him has over 100 years of experience. I don't know about you, but when it came to buying a home, trust and experience, the 2 most important things to me. That's Connor with Element Mortgage. Get in touch with him. All right. You got the QR code, or you can call Connor at 916-505-1006. Again, you will not go wrong with Connor as your real estate agent. That's 916-505-1006. That's Connor with Element Mortgage. I understand the frustration. I get it. We've had, Rabini, we've had Dirk, we've had, PK, we've had Jay. I mean, I get it. I understand. All right. What do I think of the new current coaching staff under Christie? I don't buy into the coaching staffs as much because they're all my experience of being around many, 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 many coaching staffs is they're all really good. They all do a very good job and they all work hard. Really, I mean that. So it's the head coach. It's the head coach. That's where I go. All right. Are some coaching staffs better than others? Well, yeah, of course. But I I think having Mike Woodson on the staff is good because of his experience. But it's the head coach, and ultimately it's the players. All right. Ultimately, it is the players. Don't forget Kings Court tomorrow, 3:00 with Rhino in Sacktown. I'm back here tomorrow at 8:00. And then, as of right now, no show on the 4th. But the NBA is not closing up shop on the 4th. And then we got Summer League that's right around the corner. You get a look at your two rookies. You get a little bit of a glimpse. And I've always said this, you better make sure they look good in Summer League. They better look good in Summer League because you're playing against mostly non-NBA talent. So if you're going to be playing in the NBA every night, you better look good at Summer League. You don't have to look great, but you have to look like you belong. Okay? That is super important in Summer League because there's only a handful of guys, less than a handful on each team that's going to be in the NBA. Maybe one guy, maybe two. You better look good, right? You better excel in Summer League. Don't have to look like a superstar, but you better look like you belong. And if you don't, you're like, oh boy, that's not good. You know, you're like, oh boy, not good. So you'll get a glimpse of the two rooks coming up soon. All right, good show today. I appreciate you all. And I hope that you are going to have a great holiday weekend. If you are thinking of relocating, use the weekend to go to Calusa and check out Sunrise Landing in Calusa. I-5 will get you there, Highway 45, Highway 20. You go to CalusaSunrise.com and you can check out their beautiful models in person. No Mellorews, no homeowners. Go across the street, check out the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Get a real good feel for the area. It's all there for you at CalusaSunrise.com. All right. That's CalusaSunrise.com, and you can check out Sunrise Landing. All right, tomorrow, 8:00, right here on If You Don't Like That. Fabulous calls today. Love it. All right? Love it. Talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Appreciate you. Bye-bye now.